All right. I'll see if anybody comes on here. Got that. We get somebody to come in and say hello. Hey, who do we got? Who's on here? Let's see if I can get the chat going. Welcome to that chat. Okay. You guys hear me all right? Can't see anything in the chat yet. Yeah, we'll see. Just in the skinning shed. You get this cat skinned out, and then we're gonna get it fleshed out and boarded. So it's a cat from earlier today. And I thought I'd just go live and hang out here with you guys for a bit while I got this going here. So you can. Hi, Jacob Miller. There you go. Okay. It's been a while since I've gone live, so I'm trying to get all this new stuff. Thank you. Yeah, Jacob, I'll show where the glands are as I go through here. So, just a decent-sized female cat. Not the largest, but really nice belly. Good white belly. So, just always start with the cut. I always start at the base of this back pad here. Run it all the way down to the vent. Do the same thing on the other side, all the way down. And I run right between where you've got the brown hair and that white hair. And you just run right down the edge of that white hair. And that's going to give you the maximum amount of white hair on the belly side when you're boarding them. But I always start at the base of this pad and run all the way down. It gives the buyer the maximum amount of fur as well. So you get all that extra white fur on the legs. Comes out really nice. Yeah, we'll get the glands out of here too. We'll try and maximize it, and I'll probably save some of the meat too as well, because if you guys haven't saved the meat from your bobcats, they are really, really good. Bobcat tastes delicious. It's just a really good white meat, very similar to pork as far as consistency and taste. Let's see here. Jacob, I'm going to make you a moderator. Or you can help with the chat there, Jacob. I'd appreciate it. But anyway, just kind of getting this all cleaned up. Once you get that first cut on this side, I'll always come back up to here right at the base of that pad. Save the pads too, guys. The pads you can use for your baits and lures just along with your glands and everything. They also, if you save the feet, the front and back feet, those are good for the craft market as well. Craft buyers like to buy the feet. They use them in all kinds of different projects and everything, so something worth checking out. try and keep up with the chat as I can. But just out here in the fur shed doing this. I always take my time with the feet, going around these backs of these feet because I don't want to waste the fur. I'll show you guys the cuts for the meat and everything too, because they got back straps and everything else, a lot like a deer. And you can get little steaks and everything out of the back legs and all that. There's plenty of good edible meat on bobcats. And like I said, it tastes really good. So Dank, as far as telling how old a bobcat is, there's a lot of different things you can look at. Your younger cats, you'll be able to see in the face. I mean, they'll have that kitten-looking face. It's real obvious when they're really young. And we let all those ones go. At least I do, and I know a lot of my buddies do. You catch those super young cats, we let them go. Keep the population young and healthy. Your older cats, they're going to be much larger, especially your males. They're going to be really big. You'll also see it in the teeth. A lot of time when they'll hiss at you and everything while they're in the cage, you can actually see it in their teeth. Their canines and everything are super worn down, and almost, I've had ones that are nubs are completely gone just from wear and tear over the years, and they've worn their teeth down to basically nothing. And those cats will end up dying from distemper or other diseases, or they'll just end up starving because they can't eat anymore. Because that's how Mother Nature takes care of them. Nothing dies of old age in nature. They'll get killed by some sort of disease or something else. So, especially getting those big old toms out of the population is good, because they'll actually go out and kill baby bobcats. If they find a female that's breeding with a competing male, they'll actually kill the babies and try and breed that female. So, much like a lot of other species do. So you do target those big males. One, just they're more value, but also it helps keep the population healthy. I let go a handful of cats last year, a small handful. Only caught a few little ones. I had a buddy who caught quite a few little guys. I actually just got a release video from a buddy of mine today. So, yeah, there's a lot of different kind of things you can look at. Size, just your general health and everything else. But you'll never know exactly how old a bobcat is unless you do a count on their teeth. So there's a game and fish officer out here in Arizona who's doing a study on the bobcats. All the trappers out here, we turn in our lower jaws to game and fish. And what they do is they actually take that lower tooth, that back molar, they cut it out after they boil the jaws and everything, get them super clean. And then what they do is they actually do a cross section of the tooth, and they stain it, and they can actually count the rings in the tooth, kind of like counting the rings in a tree. And that is how they can determine the age of the cats. There are other parts of the study they're doing as well. They're looking at health and everything else, checking for disease, all kinds of different things. So it's a ongoing study that they're doing, and it's very beneficial for trappers to be turning in their jaws and everything to game and fish, because it helps them do this study and make sure that there's a good, healthy breeding population of cats out in the wild. They also have a collaring program that they're doing that a few trapper buddies of mine I know of are helping with. And from that, they're able to determine home range. They're able to determine how far these animals are traveling. They actually tracked one they were telling us about. It was a large female. She was way up north, and she'd been hanging out there for a while. And then just one day, she just started heading south, and she traveled over 50 miles south. Got down to this other area, hung out there for a couple of months, and then turned around and headed back north. Went about the same 50 miles, right back to her home range. So these cats travel a long distance. They will just up and go. So that's another reason that I've had a lot of people like ask about relocating and things like that. A lot of time with bobcats and lions and bears and stuff like that, relocation doesn't really work because they travel such great distances. I don't know exactly what all goes into their navigational skills, but these things can travel a long way and get right back to where they start without getting lost. So it's pretty impressive what these cats can do as far as traveling is concerned. I had a buddy who's like, oh, you could just take them a few miles away. I was like, dude, that cat will be back there the next morning if you only take him a few miles. The Game and Fish caught a large tom up by the Ben Avery Center. It was harassing some of the other animals that they were doing recuperation on and stuff and trying to nurse back to health. And they took that tom, they sedated it, collared it while it was under sedation, drove it 19 miles away under sedation, and then woke it up and released it. And 9 days later, that cat was back at the Ben Avery Center. It was 19 miles away, and it had been moved under sedation. These cats travel distances, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't seem to phase them by trying to move them or anything else. I know that Game and Fish moved a problem black bear off of Mount Lemon. They took it 515 miles away. 5 months later, that bear was back on Mount Lemon. It traveled all the way back. It took it 5 months, but it came back. So, yeah, just trying to move them and stuff just doesn't seem to really work. If you guys saw that, all I used for my tail puller is a couple of big nails like these, and I just put one on either side and give it a tug. It pops right off, slides that tail right off, and then you can get these cats skinned out pretty easily. I let this one hang most of the day. Family stuff going on, so wasn't able to get to it as quickly. If you get to them when they're still warm, they skin out a lot easier. So slide this up just a bit. So the glands, I had a couple people asking about that. This is one of them right here. It's about the size of a pea. But that's one of the glands in the back leg. There's another one. You kind of see the muscle. It kind of comes back to the lower portion of the leg. You got the upper hock here. And you got this little split. And the glands are right in here. There's a little fat pocket right here. And you can see just on the side of that fat pocket, it's about a little bean-shaped gland. It's right there. Hopefully you can see that, but there's those two right there. There's two underneath the front shoulders. They're a little harder to get at, and sometimes they're almost non-existent. They're just real small. And then there's some glands behind the ears, and then there's some underneath right up underneath on the throat on either side, underneath that front jaw. So when we get to them, I'll show you guys those too. When you're doing knife work with cats, you got to be real careful. They do have thin hides, so you don't want to punch holes. I'd rather leave a little bit of meat on it and just scrape it off in the fleshing process. I've had a lot of people ask me how to flesh these out and proper care and stuff, so I thought I'd do another video. I've got another video on there on proper field care and fleshing out and everything else. But what does the meat taste like? Meat, honestly, bobcat meat tastes a lot like pork. It's actually got a lot of the same consistency as like a pork chop. So it's very white meat, as you can tell. It's kind of that light pinkish color. It's not like your dark red meats. It's very, very lean, so there's really no fat in it. Not like your venisons and stuff like that, where you're going to have almost no fat. It's very similar as far as your fat consistency and everything. Most wild game, you're not going to have a lot of high fat content with like your cats and stuff like that. Yeah, super lean meat, and the flavor and consistency is super similar to a pork chop, and it is fantastic. I actually have another video in there somewhere where I did a little taste test on some bobcat meat. There's a women's group called Bo Becoming Outdoor Women. They actually hit me up every year asking for bobcat meat because they do wild game tastings and stuff like that at their events. So I always collect up a bunch of bobcat meat throughout the season and donate it to them for their events to practice cooking wild game and for their tastings and stuff like that, just so that people can get an idea of what else is out there that they can eat. Because a lot of people are like, oh, there's no way you can eat a cat, eat bobcats and that kind of thing, and they're actually very good. There's a lot of different dispatch methods. People use all kinds of different things. You can use an air rifle, you can use a 22, you can use a choke pull. Cats have exposed jugular veins on their necks right here. So much like a person, right underneath the skin is that jugular vein on either side. You do a blood choke on those, cat's out in seconds. It's very, very quick, and you can choke them out real fast that way. And then there's also the, like I said, you can always just shoot them too. I don't like to do the headshots because I like to try and maximize using the animal as much as I can. If I'm going to dispatch it and take a life, I want to put it to use as much as possible. So I sell the fur, I keep the paws, I use the glands off the paws and the legs and everything else. I save the meat. I save the skulls. I sell skulls. I have a couple different buyers for skulls. They use it in all kinds of artwork and everything, especially things like skunks and stuff like that. If you can find somebody in the craft market that does like little dragon skeletons and stuff like that, skunk skulls, they say are the best because they have super sharp little teeth, and the heads and everything they can make look like little dragons. Iowa Trapper, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you in a bit. I've been so busy with getting ready for trapping season and everything else that I haven't been able to get on there. I know that you guys made it up to the NTA. I talked to Jim. He said that he got to swing by and see. I think he's got to see one of your demos, and I think he even got to swing by and say hi to you, if I remember right. But yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah, between family and kids and everything else, man, life gets busy, especially around the holidays. Which of course is right when trapping season starts too. So I didn't get out. I started my line yesterday. I started my trap line. I haven't been able to get out. I like to get out at the beginning of November, but we had the kids camp, so I was mentoring for the kids camp this year. So I didn't get out to do any of that. Then I had my hunt right before kids camp. I had my kids hunt. So I've been just on go mode, running around trying to get everything done. So it's been fun though. I always love doing the kids camp and getting them out there and getting that new generation of trappers out there. Yeah, no kidding. I try and catch up on your guys' videos and try and keep up as I can, but once I start trapping, unless I get a break at work or something, I don't get to poke around on YouTube much. Unless I'm out here and then I'm either running a live or I'll be trying to catch up on someone else's live or any of that other stuff. I'm so behind on videos this year. I still have our summer vacation that we did. We took the kids out to Florida, did a whole bunch of different little adventures along the way. We did some ocean fishing once we got to Florida. We did some cave tours on our way back. We did this huge long road trip, and it was really fun. Lots of cool stuff to see. The kids got to adventure around and see all kinds of neat stuff. It was a good time. So yeah, so I've got a couple of days of that already edited. But trying to edit all your own footage and get everything else, it's just been really, really crazy. So I'm trying to edit videos and get ready for Christmas now. And not only do we have Thanksgiving over November, but it's also my wife's birthday, and then like I said, all the hunts, and then the kids camp and everything else. It's just been non-stop. And I was really hoping to get out last weekend and get my line out, but that was around the wife's birthday, and mother-in-law and everybody had some other stuff planned, and it's just been crazy busy getting all that done. The other thing, guys, the lower jaw portion here, this little patch of hair that goes underneath the lower jaw and the skull, there's no market value on that. I skin it out usually just because it helps clean up that lower jaw that we have to turn into game and fish anyway. So that's one less thing I have to peel off later. So I just try and cut all of that off as I go and get the whole cat skinned out. But that's that whole fur right there. That actually skinned out pretty nice. Take this one glove off. And slide down in here. Flip this around real quick. I'll show you guys that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera to the flushing beam here. We'll get this cleaned up. But as you can see, turned out pretty nice. Got all that fur. I'll show you guys real quick where the glands are, and then we'll get to flushing here. I'll pull these glands later, but you can take the back straps out. That's these pieces of meat. For those of you who don't know, there's these two big chunks of meat that run right down the back here. On a cow and stuff, that's what you get filet mignons and stuff like that from. But you can cut these out. They're absolutely fantastic. These back hocks are really good. Like I said, you've got these two glands right here in the back legs. On these cats also, you cut the belly open right here real carefully, and you'll find the bladder right in here. I'm not going to do that on this video, but I'll do that later. But you can collect all the urine from that. That's really good for trapping lures and stuff like that, or you can just use it as a cat pee for baiting purposes. Front paws, like I said, I'm going to take those off and freeze them. That's good for the craft market. They like to use the claws. They'll take that whole front paw, make it into a keychain, just like you would like with a rabbit's foot or something like that. You can make keychains out of those. Right up here in the armpits, basically, you cut through the meat right here, and they're right inside here on either side, right in this little pit, basically. You gotta look around for it a little bit, but there's basically another little bean-sized gland right there. Then behind the ears, there's a gland right here, basically at the base of the ear. If you have a pet cat or ever been to a friend's house with a pet cat, they've got that gland right underneath the ear, and that's why they always like their, they always want you to rub their head right there, and they're always rubbing the side of their head and everything. That's that gland. They're putting that scent on you. That's what they're doing. And then right underneath, right here, right behind the back corner of the jaw, where it turns on the cat, right there is another gland. You'll find there. You got to cut through the initial little layer of skin right there, but you'll find another gland right there. Again, I'm not doing that in this video. Especially when the cat's been hanging a little bit, it can be a little bit messy. I just don't want to get anybody wound up on that stuff, so we're not going to do that today. We're going to switch the camera over to here. I'm going to angle it down just a little bit. There we go. Perfect. All right. Let me see here. A glove. 2 more gloves. Perfect. That's exactly what I need. This. I go out and I catch the cats. Who's that? Naya? I do go out and I catch them. Part of our conservation program here in Arizona. You got to keep control of the predator populations, otherwise they will overpopulate and they will wipe out other animal populations, or they end up all dying from things like distemper and that sort of thing. Actually, there was an area that I was trapping last year that got hit with feline distemper, and it's a pretty bad way for the cats to go. It really messes them up pretty bad. You can Google it, look it up, feline distemper, and see all the different things that it actually does to the animal. A lot of time they end up just like meandering out into the middle of the road and getting hit by traffic and that kind of thing. It's pretty bad. So the glands, what I do with the glands, I actually have a buddy that makes a lot of lures and different baits and stuff, and he makes gland-based lures and baits for Bobcat. And so a lot of time what I do is I will collect it all up, and then I'll ship it up to him. And then at the end of the season, after I've shipped him a whole ton of it, a buddy of his comes down to our first sale that we have, and I pick up some lure and everything from him that he sends down for me in exchange for all the glands and everything that I send him. Alright, got that. Let's see here. Another good thing to have is borax. I just keep these old containers from Costco. Get friends to leave me extra containers of them. And then after I do all the dry washing of fur and everything at the end of the season, I save all that extra borax that I've already used. And then I use it in the fleshing process. It helps dry these out faster as well. And you end up with just a much nicer product at the end. So good to have a little bit of borax with you. And it just keeps everything kind of nice and clean, and just rub a little on. And then start scraping. Yeah, that's the first sale that we have up in Williams. His friend brings down a whole bunch and sells it. One of them is called Dirty Cat, and the other one's called Northern Lights. Really good stuff. I've got a lot of cats on it. Actually, I caught this cat on some of the Dirty Cat, which is a gland-based lure, and it works really, really well. I said I had this line out. I set it yesterday, and I caught this cat this morning. So I say I caught it this morning. That's, I did my checks, and because we do daily checks out here. So, but yeah, it works quite well. I've caught a lot of cats using his lure. I used to turn the ears. Again, there's really no market value to turning the ears because the fur buyers that use it for the fur market, they really don't care about the heads. So the head and ears, that'll end up getting cut off once they get it to the clothing maker or whatever they're making out of it. They don't typically keep the head and ears anyway, so you'll save yourself some time by not cutting that off. And then what I do is I just put a bunch of borax up in the ears once I get it boarded, and it'll dry out pretty quick. But I'll show you guys all that process next as we go. Just getting a little bit of those chunks of cartilage that I missed there before. Cut the ears a little shallow, or not shallow, a little bit too deep, and just left a little bit of that extra cartilage that I don't want on there. Again, not that it's a bad thing to leave it there, it's just going to take longer to dry. So if I can cut a little bit of it off now, then I don't have to worry about waiting for that to dry later. Less dry time, less chance of spoilage or any moisture buildup or anything like that. So, we're just going to keep flushing this off, get as much of the meat and any fat and membrane that's needed to get off of there. I did nick a vein as I was skinning, so that's actually clean. Normally that would be nice and white, but it got a little bit of blood on it and it stained it there. Oh, nicked underneath the armpit there too. I'll have to sew that up. Always a little bit of whoopsies as you go on the first cat of the season. A little bit out of practice. Once you get going though, it goes a lot smoother and a lot quicker. Big thing is to get all the meat off. You don't want that to spoil, because if that spoils, any hair that's in that area is going to slip. It devalues the fur, and it can basically make it worthless, and then the buyers don't want to buy it, and that animal could go to waste, and we don't want that. So, just respecting the animal and everything else, we want to be able to maximize its use and try and not have any of it go to waste. That's why I keep the meat and everything else, like I was saying. Plus, it's really good. It's great tasting meat, and you get to help all your other populations that get hammered by these guys. These guys kill turkeys, they'll kill all your small game animals like your rabbits and everything. They're going to take out all your quail. They get into a neighborhood, they will wipe out a chicken coop in a very short amount of time. I actually was dealing with problem bobcats years ago out here, and had, in 3 days, they killed 15 chickens in 3 days. and I found out it was 2 bobcats. Just absolutely decimated my flock. So it was like 15 chickens, and they killed 6 of my ducks. Yeah, it was 6 ducks. So these guys can do a lot of damage in a very, very short amount of time. And if they do, it can cost you a lot. So, and I know up north you got much bigger cats. A big cat for here in Arizona is like a 25, 26, 27 pound cat. That's a big bobcat for here in Arizona. But I know up north you get up into a lot of these northern states, and they get 30, 40 pound bobcats they can take down huge deer, small elk. They can take down all kinds of animals. People don't realize what kind of damage a bobcat can do on a population of animals. They don't just go after small game, they'll go after big game too. So you do have to keep your predator populations in check. That's all part of the proper management of all the animals. That and rotating your line. I actually was fielding a question on our group website, our group page. There's quite a few of us answering the question, but the question was, it was a newer trapper, and they're asking about, when you put your cages out and everything, do you leave all your traps in that one spot all year long or all season long, or do you move them periodically? And it comes down to, how much ground you have to trap and everything else, but my big thing is you don't want to leave them in one spot all season. One of the big reasons is, as far as from a conservation standpoint, is you don't want to completely decimate that population. You want to take a few and then move to a new area, so that it can replenish itself, but it also will keep the numbers in check in that area. Because if you completely take out your predator population, then your prey population is going to get out of balance. So you want to just kind of go back and forth and make sure that you're dealing with that. So this is a bobcat, and I don't make anything out of them. I sell them to fur buyers who make clothing, and they make purses and all kinds of different things out of the fur. And the fur buyers don't. They sell them to another company that then goes and does that. The buyer just kind of is the one who collects it all. But we'll sell it at auction at the end of the season. Right now, we're doing the fleshing process, which is just getting all that meat and membrane and everything off the hide here, so that the hide doesn't turn and the hair doesn't fall out. This is part of the process of preparing the skin after you do your catch. And this is just one of the many steps that we take to properly handle the fur. I wish I could do this full time, but it's okay money. Trapping, you do because you love it. Some years it's kind of a feast or famine thing. Some years the market's really good. Other years the market's absolutely terrible and you don't make much off of it. I've had quite a few years where I've barely broken even as far as what I spend on gas money and everything else. You just don't make a whole lot, and that's okay. I do this because I enjoy trapping. I love getting into the outdoors. You learn how to read all the animal sign. You learn how to track better. You become a better, well-rounded outdoorsman and woman if you track. You'll learn how to read the sign better. You're going to learn movements. You're going to learn where the animals hang out, different times of year, why they're in these areas. You're going to start seeing different animal populations kind of rotating through different areas. You just spend so much time in the outdoors and out in nature and kind of seeing everything and what's going on and what the animals are doing and how they're behaving. It just makes you a better outdoorsman with what you're doing. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I get the kids involved. They go out with me, so they get to learn all these different outdoor skills. One of my older sons, he's really getting into it now. So he goes out on the trap line with me all the time. My youngest daughter absolutely loves trapping season. She gets out there with me all the time. So it's a good time. It's a good way to spend quality time with the kids too, and get them outside and away from electronics. Get them back to nature and seeing how things actually work. See where everything comes from. They don't think all their food just comes from a shelf on a store. My kids all know different, but plenty of kids out there that think this meat comes from a store. They don't realize that it comes from somewhere else. So, yeah, a lot of times though, this is one of these things where you basically end up, if you have a good season, you'll break even, maybe make a little bit of money on it. If you have a great season, you'll make some money that season. But overall, I just like spending the time outdoors, and this is another excuse for me to get out and do the things that I love to do and spend time with the kids outdoors. So I had a mentor growing up that taught me how to hunt and helped me a lot. He ended up passing away a while back, but I always asked him, hey, how can I ever repay you, just for everything that you taught me and taking all that extra time to take me hunting and to teach me this stuff and everything. And his biggest thing was just pass it on to someone else, teach somebody else, get other people involved in the outdoors. Pass on this tradition so it doesn't die off. So that was a big reason for me starting my channel, and it's just why I get involved with the Arizona Trappers Association. It's why I go out and I'm a mentor for them. I'm a Trappers Education instructor, so I'm one of the instructors that teaches the Trapper Education course. I just do as much as I can without it being a detriment to my family, of course, but I try and do as much and give back as much as I can to the outdoor community. So that's why I like to do the lives and stuff here while I'm doing this. One, it can get really boring in the fur shed by yourself, so it's somebody to talk to. Even if I am basically sitting in here and it sounds like I'm talking to myself, my wife comes in here and bugs me sometimes. She's like, why are you in here just talking to yourself? And I'm like, I'm running live. She's like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, she likes to tell me that I just go out to the shed and talk to myself for hours. So, I was just going to take my time, just peel this membrane down. Get it all the way to the end, run it to the end, and just kind of stretch it past that last little bit of fur. And just kind of keep getting it until you'll kind of get a feeling for it. You'll be able to feel the difference in it from where the membrane's peeled off and where it's not. Again, throw a little bit of that borax on there, and it really helps soak up that moisture and helps that stuff to peel off nicely. You also don't want to overextend your arms. If you find yourself overextending like this, you're going to start punching holes, and then you're going to have a lot more sewing to do. So kind of keep yourself in this kind of short basically the first top 12 inches, maybe a little over that, depending on your arm length of your fleshing beam. I typically try not to push too far past that, because if I do, I start punching holes, and then I gotta sit here and sew them up. So that just adds time to what you gotta do out in the fur shed. I'm not saying you're never gonna punch holes, because it's gonna happen. Do this enough, you're gonna punch holes, and then you gotta sew up holes. So, especially on the female cats, when you're running the knife down the belly, you gotta be real careful, because if you pop one of those nipples, you will rip a golf ball sized hole into these furs, and then you gotta sit there and sew it all up, and it can take some time. So you gotta be careful when you're doing that. So this is, I think this is a 10 or 12 inch that I bought off of Amazon. It's like 14, 15 bucks on Amazon. I don't remember the make of it, but I've got this one, and then I have one other knife. It's got more of a curved edge, and I typically use this for raccoons and stuff. It's a much sharper, heavier knife. I think this is a Necker. If I remember right, that's what this one is. It's a much thinner blade too. You can kind of see the difference in blades, how wide they are and how skinny this one is. This one's also got more of a curve to it, but it's really good for raccoons and skunks and stuff. Just because they're super, super fatty animals, and you can really peel a lot of that fat and everything off with them. I like this one. I've just gotten used to the feel of it, and I just really like this one. Trapper Jay, what's going on, man? Got the first cat of the season. I'm just cleaning it up. But yeah, so the knives, the fleshing knives I use, are just your kind of, one's a Necker, and then the other one's just an Amazon special that I got. That's just these old wooden handle ones. Nice little knife. And then for my little skinning knife right here, this one's made by Weeby. They actually did a ride along with Jim. It's a Pelter. I got a backup one right here. It's, again, you can pick these up on Amazon, or you can go to the Weeby website. But really good pelting knife. It's W-I-E-B-E. It's W-I-E-B-E, Weeby. Great little pelting knife. Absolutely love these. And you can see the difference on the blades here. I'm wearing the heck out of this one. Let's see. Yeah, you look at those two blades, you can see the difference in them already. This one this one's starting to get like an arc in it from sharpening it over and over and over again and going through a lot of pelts. But they're great knives, and they're not that expensive. They're like 14 bucks a yen. Pretty inexpensive knife. They have skinning knives and pelting knives and everything. I just really like the pelter that they have, so I use that one. And just kind of do my touch-ups and stuff as I go. If I have to cut something along the way as I'm flushing these out, and you just keep rolling that membrane down as you go. And we'll do the put up on the stretcher next here once I get this done. But yeah, finally got that line out. I went down to the ranch, talked to the rancher, set a whole bunch of coyote sets out there. And then there's a whole other area of the ranch that he wanted me to hit up, so I'm going to kind of piecemeal sets out there as we go. But he said that the night before I went over there, they were completely surrounded with coyotes. He heard them all night long on all different sides of the ranch house. They were just freaking everywhere. So we'll probably have quite a few catches as we go throughout the week. I got a few sets out, like I said, but I really want to get a whole bunch out on that ranch and just hammer them before we get to calving season out there, because that will be very beneficial to them, so these coyotes aren't harassing his calves and all the heifers and everything out there come calving season, which is in February. That's when I caught a bunch of the coyotes last season, just because I couldn't make it out before that. So he was really hoping to get me to get out there earlier this year, and he was happy when I showed up here He said I could just get after it and try and get as many of those coyotes as we can. So we'll get after them too. Fur prices for them down here in Arizona aren't the best. We just don't have the big heavy pelts like they do in other parts of the country. But again, you find that craft market and you can sell the skulls and stuff for a decent price. So yeah, just kind of shop around. Those are kind of the craft market's something that I think a lot of people overlook. You can sell skulls, you can sell the claws, you can sell just so many different things that people overlook when they're dealing with their fur and everything else. And there's a lot of money that you could make and help offset the cost of your season by getting into that craft market. And just find a little corner of that you can sell more parts of your catches for. You're just starting out. Another thing you can do is save all your skunk essence. Catch skunks, use the skunk essence. Save that. Use a glass jar with a metal lid, and then what I like to do is I get one of those little bait tubs. You can use a number 10 paint can, works really well. Fill it about halfway with cat litter. Put your little jars of skunk essence in there, and then bury it in the cat litter. You will not be able to smell it. You just can't. I've got one actually out here that's in a little tub, and it's just dirt. I just surrounded the jar with dirt inside the tub, and the outside of the container, you can't even smell the skunk in it. It hides that smell completely. It's great. So, just an option. Last little bit of this meat and membrane off of this back leg here, and we'll wipe it down with some borax and then move on to the other leg. Just a little bit there. Both glands stayed on the leg. They didn't get onto the fur here, which is really nice, and didn't end up with any on the pelt. Sometimes if you're doing those when you're skinning out, you'll end up skinning those glands and they'll stick to your pelt as you pull it off. So if you can't find the glands from the legs on the leg, check your pelt right along the edges on the cut lines, and you'll typically end up finding your glands stuck to the pelt. Especially on the back legs, that's where they'll end up pulling off and sticking on you. So, just something to watch out for if you're collecting the glands. But yeah, find a bait maker, find somebody that puts those glands to use, and work out a deal for bait or anything else and send it to them. So, like I said, that's what I do. I trade all my cat glands, and I get more gland-based lure from my buddy, and they send it to me. So, not a bad deal. Let's get this last little bit here. Stringy parts of membrane here down up the leg. Spread that out and get the last little bit, some borax on there. Big thing is getting the fat and the meat off. A little bit of the membrane and stuff's not the biggest deal in the world. I like to trim them up nice as best I can. Get a few going here. What's up, Brian? Oh, you wrecked your truck. That's no good. Hope you're all right. I had one season, I got my line out, and then I was literally on my way home from putting my trap line out. I just done about 40 miles of trap line. I think the farthest one out was about 40 miles out. And was on my way home, and the transmission went out on my Jeep completely. And I had to trap out of a Honda Civic the rest of the trapping season. So, yeah, vehicle troubles. I had to be a Honda trapper for the year and just trap roads that I could get down with a two-wheel drive and very little clearance. Just had to make do. So, still worked out though. I ended up, I actually learned a lot from that season by not going further out and learning how to trap in closer to populated areas that we were allowed to trap in, and just kind of figuring it all out and figuring out the movements of those cats. So, and I just tried to find the positive side of it and make it work as best I could. But yeah, the vehicle troubles are never fun. That was definitely so worrisome when I was like, oh crap, now what do I do? Ended up trapping out of a little Honda. Luckily, where I had set my line, most of it was pretty accessible. I had to hike in a ways to get a couple of traps that were a little bit further out, but pull them and get them in closer. But overall, it wasn't too bad. That tail came out so clean. That knife down once, get a little bit of fat out of there, and that is done. Alright, throw some borax on this guy so he doesn't stick. And we'll get this thing turned. Let me get this whole thing wiped down with borax, and we'll turn this pelt and get it on a stretcher. Oh. How's everybody else's season going? I was talking to Iowa Trapper here, Trapper Jay, if you're still on. Talking to Iowa just a little bit ago. He was on. We were both talking about how like neither of us catch up on any of our buddies' videos during the season just because we're so busy with everything else. And it's not until like April time frame that we actually are like, oh hey, I can catch up on other people's stuff now. Trying to see what everybody else is up to. So trying to get a healthy bit, especially up around the face, just to get that borax really rubbed in there. Get those front legs wiped down, especially up underneath the armpits. Spots that can get wet. Dry nice. It'll also help that slide right onto the stretcher. Alright, so for our stretchers, I use Top Lock stretchers. They make great little stretchers. I don't get anything for saying any of this stuff, as it's just who I use and what I like to use. So you get this cat turned here. And then we'll get it put up on the stretcher. do my best to do same day as much as possible, just so that I'm not trying to thaw furs out and play catch up all season long. Alright. Get this on the stretcher and just kind of a basic stretch, and then we'll really get it pulled here in a little bit. Just get it on here, and then we'll get it all straightened up. Nose right there on the top. Loosen this up just a hair. Now, where's my measuring stick? I think I set down over there somewhere here. Hang on a second. Give me 1 minute. All my stuff's out of place. I took stuff with me to the youth camp, and now everything's out of place. Nothing's where I left it. Still playing catch up to getting my shop back in order. Plus, I've got 9 cages in the process of building. So, right here, I've got a video on how to make one of these. It's on the how to make the most money out of your cats video that I did. This is what the fur buyers use to measure your bobcats. This is the exact measurements and everything. This is what they go by. The magic number you want to hit is a 36-inch cat. 36-inch cat, they can put when they sell that to a fur buyer, or your fur buyer buys it, they can put 2 different, basically the stencils they use when they cut the fur to make their products and stuff. They can put 2 of them on a 36-inch cat. Anything smaller than 36 inches, they can only put 1 on. So that's why 36 inches and larger, that's your magic number you're going for, is that 36. Because then they can put 2 of those stencils on there to cut. They can get more for it, so they pay more for it. If it's less than 36, they can only put 1 on there, and you're not going to get as much for your cats. So you want to hit that magic number. Like I said, I do have a video for that. And that's under fur handling and everything. Under my fur handling videos. But we'll give this a quick measure. And yeah, we'll hit that 36. Stretch out the nose a little bit. A lot of time guys will leave that neck bunched up. And it kind of, they'll lose a lot of their length in the neck because they'll leave that kind of bunched. So you want to make sure that you got that stretched out well and everything else. The other thing you want to do is at each of these measurements, 28-inch cat and smaller, this is at the belly, leather to leather, 5 inches wide. This is 6 inches wide for medium. A large cat at 36 is 7 inches. 40-inch cat, 8 inches. 44-inch cat, 9 inches. And then anything over that, they call a horse. Those are just your monster bobcats and make it look symmetrical. So, yeah, you're going to end up with a huge one there, but at least 9 inches for the belly on those. For your huge cats. Try to straighten this up as best I can. I definitely have to clean that up with some borax. Nice thing about top lot stretchers is they basically have those measurements kind of knocked out. They're the red. On the base of these things, they've got a red mark, that's your bobcats. Black mark is your coyotes. and your really, really, really big bobcats. But these ones are pretty close as far as your measurements for a 36-inch cat at the belly. Gotta pull that down, check my measurements. Right about 6. So that's right about where I need it to be. And we're going to start putting all our tacks in on the legs here. Let's see here. The kid stole the best thing for this. Alright, let's see here. Don't need this on anymore. Done fleshing for now. Alright, let's adjust the camera a little bit here and we'll kind of plug it in over here. It's another thing that I like about my fleshing beam. Just a piece of metal, square piece of metal on the bottom. Whole thing slides right out. I've got a piece of square tubing at the base. I can just slide my fleshing beam in. I can make smaller ones, little skinny ones for smaller animals and stuff, and just swap them out as I need to. And it makes for a really nice, easy setup and takedown when I need to adjust things in the shop out here. Let's move this over just a little bit. We'll get to tacking this up. I'm gonna get a stool. Sorry guys. Hi, that's super close. Let's see here. What are we doing on charge here? Oh, we're good. Can unplug the charger for now. Let's move this around to this side so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm gonna adjust the camera here just a little bit. Sorry for that. That should work. All right, just give me a minute here, guys. I'm gonna grab a stool to set this up on. Hopefully it'll work. I think it will. Should have got all this set up ahead of time, but you guys know how it is, just do this stuff on the fly. Alright, there we go. Give that a tug. Spread the belly out just a little bit. We're going to do what's called the Nevada stretch on this. Also going to put a belly board in on this one. Not a belly board, but actually a tail board. And I put these on. Oh gosh, bottom of the bag just ripped out. Spilled everything everywhere. Alrighty, let's pick some of those up. I need one of them, and one of them. Right. Alrighty. Pop this through here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. There we go. Pop that through, because then that way I can hook the tail onto something. Of course I dropped that. There it is. You don't have to use one of these little tail boards, but I like to use them on the Bobcats. I can hook the tail to it. It allows me to pin the legs a little closer together, really spread them out nicely. You just get a better overall look. So I can now pin this belly down to this board here and really give myself a better look here. Let me adjust the camera just slightly here, guys. I'm going to do my best to show you guys what I'm doing. If you have any questions about what I'm doing along the way, just pop them in there on the chat, and I'll try and check in on that periodically here and get all that answered as we can. Pull this one down, pin through. I don't know what all you guys use or anything for your stretchers. Like I said, I like to use the top lot stretchers. It's just what I've been using. It's what I've gotten used to using. And they make a really nice product. So if you're poking around looking for a decent stretcher, just getting started in this, I started off making my own stretchers just because I couldn't afford a lot, and then I just turned my whatever I did make in profits for trapping season went into buying more trapping gear. So you just kind of, as you go, just keep building on what you got. We're going to get these legs pinned in. I just used to use regular old thumbtacks that you'd use on a cork board. I finally bought some of these ones. They're a lot sharper, much longer little piece of metal for the pin, and the piece that you grip are a little bit bigger and easier to work with. It's actually kind of nice. This is my first season actually using these ones that are designed for putting up fur. Still got the regular thumbtacks out here just in case I run out. But I've got to say that so far, it's been nice to have these. I don't have to do the make do with what you got kind of thing anymore. It's been nice. We're going to tack all this up. We're going to get our measurements again. Like I said, you want to hit that magic 36 inch cat. It's tip of the nose to the base of the tail is what the measurement is after it's on the stretcher. That's the measurement you're going for, is that 36 inches. You want to get as close to that as possible or over. So like I said, I got that other video on how to make the measuring stick. If you guys want to check that one out, I think that's like under like my fur handling 101, how to get the most money out of your cats. Something along those lines, I think is what I called it. But yeah, this one's gonna clean up nice once it's all done. Get the fur brush out here and brush it out once we get it all pinned up here. You want to pin the legs together. Just really showcase all the white fur that you can. The lighting in here absolutely sucks. I've got these yellow lights. Just kind of makes everything look crappy. Let's get this light hooked up here. Hang on. Try and do this here. See if this helps at all. Got a ring light here. Let's see here. There we go. There, now it doesn't look so gray. And you can see in the pictures that I posted earlier today how white this looks when you get it out in the sunlight. It just pops. Just good white looking cat. Really good white belly. Just a pretty cat. Kind of just stretch a little bit at a time and another pin in. And I go through a lot of these pins. Other side out to the side now. Got the inside of the leg pinned, and the outside of the leg here. And we'll spin it around and do the back side. Now I gotta remove the lower jaw. A couple different methods for that. So like I said, game and fish, we turn those into game and fish for their study on the cats. They study the health and age of the cats in the different areas. Along with that, you've got to put the information on where the cat was caught, what unit it came from, so they can track all that information. So ultimately that helps them with the health of the population and determining all that as we go. What's really nice is we say in this area we caught a bunch of kittens last year, which means we've got a really healthy population. If you're catching kittens in your area, you've got a healthy population. So it's actually a good thing. Yeah, you're going to let them go. They filled up your trap for the night. Where is that fur brush? I had it over here. Now I can't find it. What did I do with it? Oh, there it is. Like I said, all my stuff's like not where I normally keep it and everything else. Good looking cat. Now we've got the back legs pinned down. Turn this around. Pull on this. You don't want to overstretch. You want to try and shoot for that 36-inch mark. The nose is a little square on this. I probably should have cleaned that up a little bit. That's going to cut us short. It's going to be just under that 36-inch mark, unfortunately. Oh, we're going to be close. It might get there. We'll see. Even so, it's still a really pretty cat. Get that line spread out. You want a nice straight line on the backs of these cats too. You want to make this line as clean and straight as you can. That fur's all rolled up. There we go. You don't want it, if it's in a big V like this, it's overstretched, it's all wonky and everything, then you don't have it laid out flat right. Just do a little bit at a time here and just lay it out. Just get a nice straight line of pins going through here. I just got a message from Justin. this tail out flat so it'll dry nice and even. If you don't, I pin my tails. If you don't, they tend to roll on you. Again, there's no huge value in the tails. You accidentally pop one off, not that big a deal. Again, that's another thing for the craft market. I've seen them make really cool keychains out of bobcat tails. They actually come out pretty cool looking. This guy's gonna fluff up nice when we actually get to that. I'm gonna do the Nevada stretch on these, so we're gonna take care of these front legs here. We grab a couple hanger pieces. So with these, just take the piece of hanger. It used to be a hanger kind of like that. You cut the little hook off of it, and then you got two of these guys. Use these on the front legs. I just work them in. The goal is to get all that white on one side of that hanger. And then you can kind of pull it out flat. Stretch her out. Bring them in. And put it up nice and straight, just like that. And I'll just pin it into place, and then I typically will throw a little bit of borax down inside the leg. And that just helps them dry out. I already boraxed everything really good. So these aren't damp or anything right now, which is exactly what you want. You want these things to dry out. You don't want them to build up moisture or any of that. I keep the ceiling fan going on in here all season. Help the air kind of rotate in the room. Eventually I'll probably invest in some of those blue fans to get all that junk out of here. There we go. Take that lower lip off. I peeled it. Like I said, I peeled it off that lower jaw just so that I didn't have to deal with it. There we go. And it's not in the way later. That gets that mouth open. A little gap right there to allow airflow in and out of the cat here. Then we got our tag that we had on it. I just hook these on. Pretty much anywhere on them. Just tuck that in. All the trap information. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll pin those ears up. I just take them, and I'll just pin them up like this. First thing I'm going to do though is throw some borax in there. Because they take forever to dry. Good healthy amount of borax in there, rub that in. That'll help those dry out nicely. And just pin those ears up. And again, you don't have to, you can just leave them. I pin them up like this just because your overall presentation looks nicer. At the end of the day, when you're dealing with the fur buyers, if it looks like you actually cared and put some time into your fur and made it look nice, the nicer you can make these things look at the end of the day, those fur buyers are going to go, okay, well, this guy actually put some time into these, and actually, you know, it looks like they cared about what they were doing and making the best quality product they could. And they tend to be less picky about what they're gonna nitpick at on your cats. Tip of the nose, base of the tail, We are right at 36-inch mark, dead on. So a little bit of pulling, straightening everything out. Our line right here is perfect. I pinned a little high. What that keeps that from doing is that keeps it from bunching. So if you can pin just a little high above the tail and kind of pull down, it'll keep it from bunching up on you. How long do I leave them on the stretcher? That's going to depend on all the conditions. That depends on how warm it is. That depends on what kind of weather we've been having and everything else. If it's fairly dry out, these cats, this cat will be dry in probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 days. It'll be totally dry without putting a fan directly on it. If I put a fan, most of my fans are broken. This one actually just fell and a big piece of rebar went through it and broke all the blades. So that one's completely trashed. I used to have a nice little oscillating fan. It broke. I just got another one. Clearly I break a lot of them. But I just got another one that's like a wall mount. That I'm going to mount up in here and run an extension cord to it. And have it blowing on all the fur, and hopefully it'll dry these guys out a lot quicker. But anywhere from, depending, it can be 6 to 10 days, unless you have like a drying setup. A couple buddies of mine have those industrial blowers, those big blue ones that you see on like carpet cleaning operations and stuff. And then they hook up ventilation system that runs from those into PVC pipe that then runs up into the inside of the pelts and dries them all out from the inside and everything. And those are done in like a day or two. They're really quick, but again, you got to spend the extra money to do that and have enough space to set all that stuff up. And I just don't have the time or inclination to do that at the moment. I just buy a lot of stretchers, and when the cats are dry, I rotate them out and put the cats on fur hangers, which I've got a couple of over here. This is my fur hanger. It's one of them. This was an old wire stretcher, and I've got the little hook from the old wire stretcher right there on one side. And I just cut a big length of it, bent it all the way around. It hooks on itself. I can slide the fur on it, pop it back up on there, and we're good to go. So if you have wire stretchers, good use for them. Just welded a hook onto the top of it. But these work great, and it's a really cheap way to use for your, oh, that just fell off out of nowhere. Awesome. But that's a nice little way to deal with that. Hang on, guys. What the heck happened here? Just sitting there all pretty and then just fell off. That was weird. Huh. Now I can't see. Blinded by the light. A little flare moment there. There we go. That shouldn't fall off anymore. But yeah, there we go. Like I said, it really is going to depend on conditions. If you got really wet conditions, it's going to take forever for your fur to dry. Put a fan on them if you can. Use borax or sawdust. Both of those work really good when you're fleshing. It also helps soak up all that moisture. And then, yeah, just get them hanging, get them up in the air. Like I said, I've got the ceiling fan running all season long. And then I'm going to get that other fan wired up and hooked up and running so that it's blowing on all the fur as well. And I'm hoping with all that air circulation, these will dry out much quicker. That's pretty much going to be it, though, unless you guys have any other questions. Jacob, you got anything else for me, bud? I don't know who all's on here right now, but I think I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. I've got to cut the jaw off and stuff. I do have a gland removal video, Jacob. You can check that out in my video stuff. There is a video in there on location of the glands and where they all are and how to cut them all out. I hope you get your first one too, Jacob. That'd be really cool. If you're on the ATA Facebook group, drop some photos of it when you get it, man. I'd love to see those. Arizona Trappers Association, we have a Facebook group. Join up and make sure that you post all your photos. Nobody's going to troll you on there, so if you have any questions at all, ask them on there. Or you can PM me on Facebook. I'll answer your questions too, bud. I'd be happy to help. But yeah, nobody's going to troll you on the ATA page. We've got a lot of newbies on there. We're trying to help people. We're trying to help promote trapping. So yeah, if you've got questions, man, ask them. There are no dumb questions on there. If you've got a question, ask it. We will help you and get you the answers that we can give you. Sometimes it's not exactly what you're looking for, but it's going to be, we're going to give you the honest answers. All right. So I'm going to get going here. I've got a little bit of butchering to do and some final cleanup, but yeah, no kidding, right? All right, man. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you out there. And if you haven't done so, like and subscribe, guys. Please subscribe to the channel. All this helps. All right. Thanks, guys. Let's see. I don't know how to do all this new stuff here. What does that do? That's moderating. Nope. I don't know all the buttons on this anymore. They moved everything. I think it's just that. Yep. All right. Good night, guys.